Hello everyone, welcome to Nari Bukarazi and this is Meenu. So I'm so very excited to meet you guys today because I'm going to talk about one of my top most favorite trilogies. So it is none other than the Bahubali Trilogy. Yeah, so this trilogy is so very close to my heart. I love the movies as well as the trilogy so very much. So I've been waiting to talk to you guys about this book for a very long time and I've decided to talk about it right now. So let's get into this video without any further ado. So I'll not be getting into much detail about this trilogy, so it will not be like a book review or anything. So I'll just tell you what are the things I liked about this book, what you can expect when you are picking up this trilogy. So it will be very general. So if you want, I can go and do a detailed book review in a separate video, because if I decided to do it in a one video, it will be very long and that would be very boring. So that's why I've decided to cut short into a small video. So yeah. So the first book on the trilogy is The Rise of Shivakami. So this book released in 2017, right after the release of the second part of Bahubali. So right after watching the movie, I ordered for this book and I started reading it. So whenever I, read a Bahubali book, so what I do is before starting the book, I watch both the movies, and after finishing it also, I'll watch the movie. So it's like a ritual to me. So I was very excited to pick up this book in the first place, because you all know how great a Bahubali fan I am. So I loved it so much. I watched the movie on theaters more than a couple of times. So it's very close to my heart and I wanted to, relive all those moments for an extra, few hours. This book actually came as a solution to that. So in fact, this is the first book I have read by Anand Neelakantan. So the writing style of the author was seriously very nice, and this book actually introduced me to Anand Neelakantan's world and his writing style and his thought process. So it was after this book that I actually started reading all of Anand Neelakantan's books, and I've become a great fan of him. So if you wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me who is the best mythological writer in India, so I would say Anand Neelakantan at any point of time. So I am a very great fan of him. What this trilogy is all about is this will focus on what has been happening in the kingdom of Mahishmati before the beginning. So this trilogy is called Bahubali Before the Beginning Trilogy. So it majorly focuses on the young life of Shivakami, Katappa and people like that. So it basically about Mahishmati before the birth of Bahubali and Baladeva. So when I actually read the blurb of this book, it was kind of very difficult for me to absorb and digest it, because it was very contradictory to what we have actually seen in the movie. Because it says the young Shivakami, her only aim in her life, her goal in her life is to destroy Mahishmati and kill the king of Mahishmati to avenge the death of her father, who has been executed by the king because he had done something wrong or against the kingdom. So basically her father was a traitor. So it was very difficult for me to absorb, because in the movies we have seen her to be this very patriotic person who is the queen mother of Mahishmati. If someone utters something against the kingdom or its rule or the ruler, she get very offended and she get very angry about it. So when I read it, it was kind of very it did put me off, because it was very contradictory. But then it was only in the initial stages, because right after finishing this book, started reading this book, I started loving it so very much. I loved this book very much because it was a very befitting prequel to the Bahubali franchise. Whatever the team, SS Rajamouli's team, has done in the film, this book has actually able to come up as a befitting prequel, because since the movie has raised so much expectation, it would be kind of very difficult for the author to match up to that level. But Anand Neelakantan has done a wonderful and spectacular job. I absolutely loved it. So this book had lots and lots of characters. There were good characters, there were bad characters, there were a lot of backstories. I loved it so much, and I loved the way in which he has actually woven a plot around this theme, and I loved it very much. There was lots of politics and I loved it so much. So this book is also coming out as Netflix originals. So I'm so very excited to watch that series. So I wanted to actually watch it, and I would say it was a really nice start to this trilogy. And I actually, recommended this trilogy, this book, this particular book to a couple of my friends, and they all loved it so much. So yeah, it is very close to my heart. And if you want to, live a bit more in the Bahubali world, I think you should pick up this trilogy. The second book on the Bahubali trilogy is the Chaturanga. So this book is more or less like a buffer book, because the plot development in this book was not very fast pacing or anything. So this book majorly focuses on the character arcs, character developments of the characters in this book. So it was a very short read. I actually loved it very much, because I am someone who loves to read about characters. I want to know about the plus and minus of all these characters from the very bottom. So that is something I really like. And what I actually like about Anand Neelakantan is, in this book he actually focused on showing the plus and the minuses of the character, because every character has different shades hidden behind them. So author has tried to bring out all those hidden shades of a character from each and every character in this book. So for example, we might have come across a hero with a lot of good qualities, but there might be some bad qualities in him as well. And you might have seen a villain, but you would have only seen all the bad qualities, but he might also have some good qualities. He might have his own reasons. So author has actually managed to give all these shades to every characters in this book, and I loved it very much. And one of the best thing I love about Anand Neelakantan is, he does not outrightly say this person is a villain, this person is a hero. He never does that. He actually shows every dimension of a particular character. He shows the plus and minus alike, and he will leave it up to you to make the decision whether this particular person is a hero or a villain, whether he's good or bad, and it's up to you, because he will just lay the facts about a particular character, and you will have to make the decision. And that is the best thing about Anand Neelakantan. He never actually manipulates your thought process. He will just show you things as it is, and that is what this book has also done. The third and the final book in the trilogy is Queen of Mahishmati. So this book released in the end of 2020, and it was very surprising for me, because since the second book took some 3 years for the author to release, so I was not expecting another book in the series anytime soon. But then suddenly out of nowhere he decided to publish this book, and I was so happy and I wanted to read it right away. So the first thing that made me so very happy about this book was because this book was very big, hefty and huge, because the second book was very thin, it was very short, and that was quite disappointing for a Bahubali fan like me. So since this book was very nice and very big, I was very happy to pick up this book and read it right away. So I like this book, and the desire to read this book hyped, because I had a lot of unanswered questions with Bahubali. For example, I wanted to know why Vijala Deva was paralyzed. I wanted to know why Shivakami married Vijala Deva despite not liking him. So there was a lot of questions that was clouding my mind. I wanted to know the answers to those questions, and this book held all those answers, and I cannot keep away my hands from this book, because I was dying to know all these answers for a very long time, and that is why I like this book very much. So I liked this book the best among all the 3 books. So if you ask anybody, people will be telling the first book was the best, but I would say the book was good, but the third book had so many stories to share, and it was like getting a good closure from this trilogy, and I loved it very much. And it was very deep, but it has lot of stories, lots of twists and turns, and I liked it so much, and I would recommend you to definitely read this trilogy. So one of the reasons why I love this particular book more than the other 2 books in the trilogy is because this book has actually made me into a Bahubali addict, literally. Because with the previous books and all, only before reading the book, I'll go and watch the movies. But whereas with this book, I have become an addict. Since the series has come to an end, I am so very sad, and I wanted to spend some more time in the Bahubali world. So what I'm doing is, for the past 4 months, I'm watching the movies and the songs on on repeat mode. So whenever you come and see me, I'll be watching the movie or the songs on repeat mode, and to be very frank, I have not grown tired or it's not all boring. I feel like, watching it for the first time every single time I'm watching it. So I love this particular book for, giving me that kind of feeling and love for Bahubali. So that is why it's my favorite. Basically, this trilogy is one of the best trilogies I've ever read, and since I am a very great fan of Bahubali, I loved it so much, and I also love Anand Neelakantan. I don't think anybody could have done justice to this series other than Anand Neelakantan, so I should have to appreciate SS Rajamouli and his team for actually selecting a befitting and a worthy writer to tell this story, and I loved it very much. So I would definitely recommend this book to anybody and everybody who have watched and loved Bahubali. So if you want to, spend some more time in the Bahubali world, I would recommend you to pick up this trilogy. And the way in which the author has elevated this series with his writing style, and it was so very good, and it was a perfect sequel for the Bahubali movie franchise, because he has never let down the franchise and he has stood up to the mark. And if you want to know about this book in much more detail, and if you want a detailed book review of each and every book, so please let me know about it on the comment section below, so that I could make a video and talk about it in a greater detail. And I would love to talk about this trilogy, this series, this franchise endlessly. So please let me know if you would also want to, hear about it. So that's all for today's video. So I was actually talking very fast because I don't want this video to be very big, because if I'm talking about Bahubali, I will get very carried away and I'm talking all about it for a very long time. So I don't want to bore you guys to death. And thank you so much for spending your valuable time on watching this video. So if you did like this video, please do like, share, comment, subscribe to Naughty Bokarazi, and also click on the bell icon over there so that you would get notified every time I post any video on this channel. So that's all for today's video. Bye bye. Take care.